Hello, everyone. Back here on Ordinary Excellence. I know it's been a bit of a break, just the reality of life, having some other like personal endeavors that I had to attend to, but was glad to get back on it and definitely excited about the person I have here, Omer Reshid. Definitely an exciting one here. For context, we met at GW, financial accounting, and from there became friends. And just was excited to have him on. A lot of success at a very young age in the real estate side, and the residential side there, and was really excited to like hear a little bit about like your upbringing, the story with that, the positives, the negatives, especially at like a young age. Dealing with that type of like stress added with school, and just hearing about like how you were able to gain such success in a young age. So with that, I think we can kind of just start off by you giving like your background of like who you are and like your upbringing at like a childhood age, just to start there.
For sure, yeah, and thanks for having me, Elias. Good to be back, and good to see you. I haven't seen you since GW, so it's nice to be on here. But yeah, quick background on me, upbringing wise. I'm originally from Ethiopia. I moved here about 8 years ago. So I taught Baltimore, Maryland, with my dad. Went to high school there at Pikesville High, and from there, I always thought I wanted to be a doctor. That's kind of like the immigrant route, is like doctor, lawyer, engineer. And I got a scholarship to GW, which is what made me come over to DC. I've been living in DC now almost 5 years, starting GW freshman year, and it was actually at GW during my freshman year, which was during COVID, where I saw a TikTok about a guy breaking down how much he made on like a real estate deal, and I didn't know what it meant. I didn't know what real estate was, different types of real estate, commercial, residential, nothing. So I was just like, oh, this seems kind of interesting. And I just remember searching up real estate near me, and the number one search result, like literally zero point 0.2 miles away from GW, was this company called the One Street Company. And they seemed pretty cool. I looked them up. I saw their website. I saw who the founder and CEO was. His name was Omer Reshid. And I just sent him a cold email. I was like, hey, my name is Omar. I'm a freshman at GW. I know nothing about real estate, but would love the chance to come on with you for free. I'll do your socials or grab you coffee, whatever it takes. I just want to learn about real estate and get in the game. And surprisingly enough, this guy emailed me back an hour later. He's like, hey, Omar, no one's emailed us before. Would love to have you. Come on down. End up going to his office the very next day. And I meet him. And long story short, I end up spending all day with him. I have no idea what this guy is doing, but I just can tell, A, he was helping a lot of people. He was having fun. We were going on showings, listing appointments. He's getting a million phone calls, a million emails. It was my first time in a G-Wag, and I was like, whatever this guy's doing, this is what I want to do. And I ended up interning for Sammer for 9 months straight. Meanwhile, during this whole time, I'm still in school. I'm still juggling GW and I'm interning for Sammer for 9 months. He goes, you need to get your real estate license. I got my Maryland license 2 weeks later. The day I got my license, he hands me a client to pretty much go and show. And I'm like, Sam, what are you talking about? I have no idea what I'm doing. I just got my license. He's like, you'll be fine. Just go do it. Remember showing to them, it was like Waldorf, Maryland, about an hour away. Nobody wanted to touch it. And still friends to this couple with this to this day. They're a beautiful young couple. And they were like, hey, we want it. What do we do? I had no clue. I was like, hey, me and my partner will give you a call back and get back with you. And long story short, Sammer does the full deal. I had a closing 14 days later. My clients were super happy, first time buyers, VA buyers. I also got a check for $5,000, which was more money than I've ever seen before in my entire life. And that's kind of how it started. And here we are now, almost 6 years later.
Yep, and a great story there. I kind of want to dive back to like the beginning part of the story.
Yeah.
So similar when my mom came from Ethiopia to the US, how was that adjustment period? Like what parts did you kind of find yourself struggling with when you first moved here? Obviously there had to be like positives in the experience. So like what were like the positives in that and like overall experience when you moved?
So I'd say, positives wise, mainly it was just like the opportunity here was just like ridiculous. I remember coming to Pikesville High and like we had iPads in all of our classes. It's like, what is this? Like it was like, again, like we had like people think Ethiopia is a rural country, like it's horrible, but no, like, it was great. We had a great life. It was awesome. But there's like different levels, right? So when you come here and there's like iPads and all these resources and all this just like crazy stuff, I was just like completely mind blown. And actually like super excited. So positive wise, I think there was so much opportunity here compared to what's back home. And then obviously on like the more difficult slash con side, it was just adjusting to a whole new country. I'm super shy. I'm a complete opposite guy. So for me, it was like very hard to kind of like get out of that shell and feel comfortable being around there.
And then when you were kind of going through like getting out of your shell, etc., um, kind of just diving into that, where did it start to become like, because obviously now you're very extroverted in nature,
Yeah.
like where did that kind of change come about?
So actually, something you pretty much did professionally was soccer and joining the soccer team. That's kind of where I found like my first set of friends. That's kind of where I kind of opened up a little bit more. And there's this teacher I always talk about her all the time. Her name was Miss Lab. She was like the coordinator for this program called Avid, and it's pretty much like a class that gets you ready for like college life. It's like more of like a life class versus like a biochem or a calc class. And she like really just pushed me to get out of my shell. She forced me to public speak a lot. She forced me to run for secretary for Abbott. She's the one that forced me to join the soccer team. So I think really a combination of, you know, being social, joining the soccer team, plus having a teacher like that was really pushing and supporting me, has kind of helped me get out of that shell.
Yeah. And then when you were looking at schools, I know you mentioned you got a scholarship to GW. Like,
Yeah.
what other schools were you looking at? Like, what factors played into it? Was it strictly scholarship? And the reason I'm kind of going about this is I
Yeah.
think a part of me is having that thought that, like, you might not have gone that path with real estate and all that success if you weren't in a city like DC that was so
100%.
accessible to areas where your industry would be populated and, you know, a good fit. So I'm kind of curious, like, where else you were looking and what ultimately boiled down in your decision.
Yeah, 100%. I think biggest thing for me was definitely like aid wise. Like I wanted to make sure that I wasn't either taking out a crazy loan for like 300,000. I mean, GW is super expensive. And then B, just like my top schools were mostly all local. I didn't want to go too far out. UMD, GW, I had American, I had Howard, I had Georgetown. So it was all mostly DC or like local schools just because of like the whole like kind of like just being close to family, being able to see them on the weekends. Again, like mind you, like yeah, I'm kind of settled in, but I still didn't want to be too far out where I'm like completely on my own. So that was a big factor. But yeah, 100%. I think I tell everyone this, like I think GW, the best part about it, yeah, we have great classes, great professors, whatever, but it's like the proximity to what it has you close to. Like we're in the, you know, one of the most powerful cities in the world, and having firms like the One Street Company being zero point 0.2 miles away from our campus, I think was probably the biggest thing. And honestly, like just the people that I met at GW, like yeah, I had some great classes, sure, but it's the people that I met, guys like you, guys like my friends, the professors that we met. And the one thing I will plug GW for is that most of the professors at GW actually do the things that they're teaching. Like I had a real estate class at GW, taught commercial real estate. He ran one of the biggest mortgage companies in the DC area. Had an operations management class. He was one of the biggest. One of the biggest positions in operations and supply chain for Amazon. So that's the plus, and like I like it. I think being in the city made a huge difference.
Yeah, and I agree, especially on the point of like proximity. Just like being blessed with the opportunity to have gone to three very different schools,
Yeah.
I found myself like growing more, like the most in DC because there were so many opportunities to try different things, get
Correct.
involved in the community. Whereas, like, for example, a school like Virginia, great school, great people. You're going to meet some incredibly successful people there too, but it is a bubble in itself, and it's
100%.
kind of in the middle of nowhere type of vibe. So
Yeah.
I definitely agree with that, and it always shocked me that like more people don't try to go to GW. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then before we get to like the good part, the real estate part, walk me
Yeah.
through your experience at GW prior to when you saw that TikTok video.
So not much, to be honest. I mean, this is like literally when I came in, it was COVID. So like barely had a senior year, was coming to freshman year during COVID. You know, we're all not allowed to have anyone in our dorms. We're barely allowed to do social events. So like there's a couple guys that I like knew and hung out with here and there. You know, one of him. So there really wasn't much happening. I was in my dorm room watching Netflix and TikToks all day. So, you know, there wasn't too much of that experience, which I think now looking back was kind of a pro. Because who knows, I might have been having so much fun or been a little too distracted to even think about, you know, real estate or fall into this whole trap of looking into it. So I didn't really have much of an experience. So for me, like my GW experience / college experience was always a mix of the real estate, the internship, plus also going to school. And I won't lie, kind of put GW and school on the back burner a little bit and prioritize more of like my internship and being with Sam, just because I just I tell everyone this, like the 9 months that I spent with Sam, I feel like I learned more about life, business, money, taxes, real estate than any classroom I've ever been in, any book I've ever read. So I really prioritize that first. But at the same time, I'm still going to GW. It's a really good school, got a scholarship. I can't let my parents down. So I still, no matter what, kind of kept that GW/school side of it in play.
Yeah, that makes sense. And even thinking back to like my experience of like not the COVID year where we were in
Yeah.
school, but like because I was in school a year before, when COVID actually broke out, I feel like that was like the most positive growth I maybe ever had, especially from like a sports perspective, because like you really had nothing else to
Yeah,
do.
nothing else to do. Yeah. Practicing all
No
day,
distractions,
grinding.
no distractions at all. So I definitely agree with that notion. And then talk me through like the thoughts and feelings that you had when you saw that video and what prompted you to actually take action and take initiative. Because I think the interesting thing is I'm sure so many people's TikToks, Instagram reels,
Yeah.
etc., have
Yeah.
motivational videos that pop up. But most people, they just watch it. They maybe get like a little dopamine rush and then it's
Yeah.
gone.
That's it. Yeah.
But you actually took it to your advantage and made it into your career. So just talk me about like what ultimately was like in your mind to actually take that big step.
Yeah, for sure. I think the main thing is that for me, like I'm in my biochem class. I was bored. I see this TikTok coming up, and at first I'm like, oh, I kept scrolling because you know how it is. Everyone's the guru. Everyone's doing reels. Everyone's became $1 million a year now, and I scrolled. I didn't even think about it. I just kept going. Whatever is whatever. And I actually have to come back to it. I was like, let me just see what that's about. And I just I typed real estate near me. No idea what it meant. Commercial real estate, residential, brokerage, like nothing. And luckily enough, again, back to proximity and being at GW downtown DC, the number one result was the One Street Company, just because they were so close to me. And I just went on the website. I looked them up. The website looked dope. It looked sleek, young. I looked up the founder and CEO. He seemed super chill, Sam Qureshi. And I was like, you know what? Let's give it a shot. Like I'm a firm believer in just like shoot your shot, ask, you never know. I didn't think this guy was going to respond to me. Multi-millionaire, one of the biggest agents in DC, the number one agent on Zillow in DC. And surprisingly enough, this guy emailed me back an hour later. So for me, I think it was very much a mix of a little bit of curiosity, luck being in DC, and then luck getting a response back.
And then this part you could already know or it could be speculation, but why do you think he responded to you and so quickly as well? What was it about
Yeah,
you that you think? I'm sure
I
there was a lot
think,
of people who reached out. So
yeah, I think a couple different combinations, and even now, like 5 years later, when I get some of these, like the way I look at it is like number one, I think it was like a nice and concise email. Like it wasn't like a long, dragged out thing. Like I was straight to the point, hit him with a little bit of admiration, and then I came in with value. Like it wasn't me saying, "Hey, let me work for you," or "Hey, take me in and teach me." I was like, "Hey, I would love the chance to come work for you for free. I'll do your socials. I'll grab you coffee, like whatever it takes. I don't care. I just want to be around you and learn about real estate." So I think coming in with some sort of value, I think a lot of people now are just like, hey, like I'll work for you I'll do this, or I'll grab you, get you coffee. Like that doesn't work. Like what can you bring of substance of value that he can't just hire out for $10 an hour, $15 an hour, or he can buy his own coffee. Like that doesn't really bring value to these guys. So I think the fact that I came in with value, clean, concise email, attached my resume, showed that I did a little bit of research on them, talked about their stats and how I love they're doing SEO and all this kind of good stuff. So I think a combination of those is probably what got him to respond back.
and just to clarify, what was the value add that you were pressing towards him? Like
My value, yeah, my value add was, hey, I would love to grow your social media presence. Like I'd love to do videos for you. And honestly, I tell everyone, it's like if I was interning for Sam as a regular intern, I probably wouldn't have learned shit. Like I would have probably just maybe learned a little bit and whatever. But the fact that I spent all day with him 24/7, because I was like, hey, I need to film your content. I have to be with you to film the content. So I was in every meeting, every lunch, every developer meeting, every showing, every listing appointment. So I learned so much from this guy that it was ridiculous. Like they started calling me Mini Sam around the office just because like I just started mimicking everything that he was doing because I was just with him all the time. And I feel like there was no way that would have happened unless I was like, hey, let me do your content. Let me bring value.
okay, yeah, that definitely makes sense. And presenting, obviously, like you said, he can get his coffee himself. So
Yeah.
you were obviously adding value to his life, and that's again makes sense why he responded so quickly. Talk me through that 9 month period of a few factors, right? One is you're still in school, and
Yeah.
school is not, especially some people like
GW.
their first year.
Yeah.
It's like a growing pain for some people. So balancing that with work that also is unpaid, and
Yeah.
then that's the first part. And the second part will be like the actual like experience, like almost walk us through the 9 month experience as if we were you.
Yeah, for sure. Number one, I think the hardest part was, like you said, like being able to balance like actually going to school, getting decent grades, and entering for SAM. So the way I had it set up was, as much as I could, I tried to move all my classes to night classes, which was very hard. You know how GW with its schedules. And then the second part was really making sure that um, making sure that even though I was in school, like I had to make a little bit of a sacrifice of, okay, like, am I going to focus on real estate? Am I going to focus on school? So I did take a little bit of a hit where I was like, I might not be fine. So it was hard, but it was also fun at the same time. I feel like, the fact that I was so close being at GW and having that dorm and being able to live there, and a couple other factors really, really helped. So it's very tough to say. I feel like I kind of got lucky with just the whole scenario of just being close by. Um, some of my professors were actually very understanding. Surprisingly, some weren't at all, but some I was like, "Hey, I'm working full time. That's what I'm doing." They were a little bit more lenient on my assignments, etc. But I definitely took a hit when it comes to my grades and what I was doing. First semester versus second semester when I was full all in on this. So definitely took a little bit of a hit. It
Hey,
was fun.
before I lose that
Yeah,
thought, before we go into the other part, how were the reactions maybe from your family, from your friends, etc.? Like even if your friends they may not have actually known, but from
yeah,
external factors on like your grades taking and or maybe not tanking, but like going down a bit.
yeah,
And the reason I say that is I think people have like a linear thought process of school.
yeah.
And it's like get good grades, don't go off the path, get your
Yep.
internship in your junior year of summer,
Yeah.
sophomore year of summer, then go get a job after you graduate. So kind of like taking that different approach.
Yeah.
How are like the external like factors with that?
At first, like, not great, to be honest. I mean, even with my parents and my dad, again, like sacrificed all this for me to move to the United States and be a successful doctor and make the family proud. So now I'm like, hey, like I'm interning at this real estate firm, and I remember like everyone like especially like the Ethiopian community, they said it in Amharic. It was like, oh, like you like Bernamas Kafta, which pretty much means like you're opening doors for a living. So I was like, it was not, people didn't understand. Like, I mean, no one's done it. They don't know what real estate is. Like for them, and again, they just want what's best for you, right? So for them, it's doctor, lawyer, engineer. Maybe now you can add in computer science. So it was a little bit iffy. Like people didn't really understand it, but I tried to just downplay it. I was like, yeah, it's just a little internship for the summer. They didn't know to what extent. Like they didn't. Friends wise, I think a lot of my friends, luckily, like, at least the ones I was super close with, like supported a lot. Like they knew what I was doing. They liked to hustle. It was a little bit hard sometimes, but for the most part, my people were cool. Yeah, I mean, I think overall, I think the reception is pretty decent. Obviously, family's always scared for you, but I think once they started to see how much I was working, and they started to see that I was serious about it, they kind of like were like, okay, I'll let him kind of do his thing.
Yeah. And the reason I was asking that was I always see like videos and stuff like that. It's basically like you even your parents might not accept
Yeah,
your vision, but it is your vision. And I'm very, very, very passionate about the fact that everyone has their own journey and you
yeah,
have to follow your own path. What works for someone, what someone else likes is not going to be the same for you. And
yeah,
so can definitely respect that you've made that decision despite opposition or opposing thoughts from your family, especially.
yeah,
Friends is easier to block out,
yeah,
but definitely from family. And then kind of just, I had already asked a bit, but like I know I
yeah,
cut you off for this part, but just to dive into like the actual like experience itself and
yeah.
really value that you were gaining there, and overall just like walking us through the 9 months in your lens.
Yeah. So the 9 months, again, like I mentioned before, probably the best 9 months of my life. Like I would probably, looking back, like if you told me to pay $1 million to intern for Sammer, I probably would, because I think the return is way greater. just being able to be around a guy that's doing the things that I wanted to do, ultra successful, all his friends are ultra successful, being able to sit in all his meetings, like I'm a firm believer in that. Like if you're a young guy, like try your best to A, be around people that you want to be like, but then B, like just being around older guys, right? These guys, most of them were all in their late 30s, 40s, 50s, and I was 18, 19 years old. So I learned a lot just being there. Like I was just a sponge. I just absorbed everything, like the conversations, how he sat, how he talked, how he negotiated. Like I just was absorbing as much as humanly possible. So for me, the internship really, to give you a full visualization, the way it was, like I was there at 8 a.m. every single day before Sammer came in, and then I didn't leave until Sammer left. So whether it was 5 p.m., 6 p.m., 10 p.m., whatever it was, I was just with him all day. And for the most part, it included me just following him around, recording content, ended up growing his social media, grew his TikTok like 50,000 followers. We grew his Instagram, we grew his company's Instagram. So we were doing good work there too. And, me editing, following him around, doing a little bit of my real estate course while I was with him. And I was just whatever Sammer needed. I was just there, absorbing, learning, helping. It ended up growing to me just more than doing social media. He needed me to drop off EMD checks, great. He wanted me to set up a new website, great. He wanted me to review he just started giving me tasks. And for him, it was easier to give it to me than even some of his employees, just because I was with him all the time. I knew exactly what he wanted. I saw the requests coming in. He's like, hey, can you take care of this? So I really kind of started to be like his right hand man a little bit. And I just enjoyed it a lot. And like I said, 9 months into it, he's like, you really need to get your real estate license. Got my license and kind of went from there.
Yeah, and definitely a positive experience in becoming a sponge. I think especially in your first role, that's what you should be doing.
Yeah.
You want to step into a role that's like good for you long term, but also you want to be gaining skill sets and knowledge that's equally as valuable. So definitely good that you were doing that. And to kind of take the next step, when did you transition from being a sponge to actually being like, okay, now I'm the agent, now I'm the guy? Like, talk us through that
Yeah.
experience.
So it was a very weird experience, and I hate saying it this way because it sounds way easier than it was. Like people are like, oh, like how long did it take you to close your first deal, whatever. And the honest truth was, 14 days. Like from when I got my license to when I closed my first, it was 14 days. But really, like the true answer was, almost 10 months, because the 9 months prior to was like me learning, growing, actually seeing what's going on. And I just ended up getting lucky, had found someone, he handed me a deal, etc. Right. So I think I kind of hit the ground running immediately once I actually got started, but I didn't really fully know. To this day still feel like there's a lot more left for me to like know and actually learn and be an expert at. But I think for me, after my first full year, so I started off, I got my license around May to December. I did about 3 to 4 million in sales, mostly all Zillow leads, mostly all things Sammer was giving me. And then my first full year, I did about like 13 million in sales around that. And that's when I was like, okay, at the end of the year, I was okay, like I know what I'm doing. Like I was confident. I knew how to talk to my clients. I knew the value that I was bringing. I knew how to negotiate better. But I was working mostly with like buyers, renters, and then really like my second year is when I was like, okay, I'm a good agent now. I'm a decent agent. I'm not like the best in the DMV, whatever, but I felt a lot better. Third year is when I started focusing on more on listings, started to really get good at my marketing, growing. So really, I would say when I was like, okay, like if you asked me when I'm like super confident, where if you compared me to any other top producing agent, and versus now is like my fourth year is when I'm like, okay, like I feel really good. I feel like a client using me, they'll get a much better deal. They'll sell their home faster. They'll make more money. Probably at my fourth year.
Okay. And then you kind of talked in a broader sense of like your year paths and kind of like how you were progressing. Take us into like detail from when you left One Street onward, and just like where you went, how that experience was, and then like going on to like where you are now.
Yeah, absolutely. So I was with One Street and Sammer for about 2.5, 3 years, really, as an agent, and we did really well. We crushed it. I mean, like Sammer is still my mentor to this day. I owe a lot to him. Still a good friend, but Around my end of third year, a lot of us, including my team lead Hovig, ended up leaving just because we merged with a different brokerage that we didn't really align with too much. It wasn't, like, in my opinion, the greatest brokerage. So a lot of us ended up moving. A lot of us went to Compass. I joined this team called the Milan Babington Group, which, it's funny. We make a joke where it's like mini One Street at Compass. Like, it was a bunch of One Street previous agents at Compass. The guy that started, his name was Sina Milan. Great guy, one of the nicest dudes. Crushes it. Was the number one team in DC at Compass now and still is. And went over there, loved it there. I was at Compass for 2 years. That's kind of when I was really out of my shell. And I only moved brokerages a year ago when I decided, I was like, okay, like, I think it's time for me to do my own thing. Like, I just felt that I could grow my own group, my own team. I felt like I had certain marketing things that I wanted to do that I could do. Like, Cena always gave me the leeway to do whatever I want, but I just wanted just like the freedom, the flexibility. I just didn't want to think about it. I didn't want, oh, like, what's he gonna think? What's she gonna think? And I just got a really good offer from a different brokerage to start my own group. And I took it, I ran with it. I've had my team now for about a year, a little bit over a year now. I have 5 agents. We do really well. This year, we'll probably end up doing anywhere about like 72 million this year. And that was kind of like the trajectory of like kind of going from Sammer, interning, an agent for Sammer, joining Compass, being an agent at Milan Babington, to moving over and starting my own group at the Capital Corner Group and kind of just running my own shop now.
And what's the demographic like, specifically age, for your team that you're the front man of?
So young, relatively. Like, it's funny when I say young, so because people are like, oh, like, what do you consider young? But everyone is. I think the oldest person we have is probably 32. The youngest person we have is 26. So still older compared to me, but I think, still young in like the general demographic. So yeah, 26 to 32 is a sweet spot between our group.
And how is that managing people that are young but still older than you?
Yeah.
And then 2 is just generally, how is it managing people while you're also trying to manage your own life at such a young age?
Managing people is probably one of the hardest things I've ever done. And I think it's still a challenge. I'm still learning. But, for me, I think it's people respect you if A, you respect yourself, but then B, like, they see that you know what you're doing, right? The fact that they saw that I had was successful in real estate, was doing my own thing, I think is what kind of gave them an idea. But they didn't really even think about my age. I just like that this guy's hustling. He's crushing it. I want to be part of that. And I think that's kind of how it happened. All my agents came naturally. Didn't recruit anyone, nothing like that. So it was super open, super natural. I think social media helped a lot and having a brand and a presence there. But yeah, I think, managing people is not easy. It's like, you have to motivate them. You got to sell the dream, the vision. It's a lot. I think it's a little bit easier with my agents just because in the brokerage world, it's all commission based, right? It's all 100% on you. You kill what you eat. It was a lot easier. One thing I didn't mention is that between this period, around my, about 2023, I started my own real estate media company called Refitified Marketing. And that probably was my biggest lesson in learning how to manage people before I started my own real estate team, because I had 22 employees. I had 12 that were VAs, and the rest were all in person, photographers, videographers, head of operations. And I sucked, man. Like, my first hire was an admin slash head of operations. Ended up like not like parting ways like 2 weeks later, just because like I didn't know how to hire. I hired the first person I interviewed. She just seemed cool. I was like, you know what, this is gonna work out. Let's do it. Had no experience. It wasn't doing what I needed to be done. Second person that I hired, had her for like 3 months, and again, just wasn't clicking. I just didn't know what to look for. I didn't know how to interview properly. I sold a dream versus, like, I think now I'm the opposite, where I'm like, hey, like, it's long hours. This is what we do. It's a startup. Like, it's nitty gritty. I need you to be like, I now like try to scare them off versus back then I was like, oh, we're gonna love it here. Like, it's gonna be great. We do these amazing videos. So I was doing it. I was still learning. So I think I learned more about my management skills running the media company. So it was a little bit easier when I started the real estate team. But yeah, managing people is still one of the hardest things to do. I actually exited my media company around February of this year. And one of the main reasons why I did too is because I honestly didn't enjoy managing people. I think it's one of the hardest things in the world. to grow and scale the company from where we were at to where we wanted to go. I had to like double my staff, and I was like, that sounded like hell to me, to be honest. Like I love them all, great people, but managing people is just super hard. Especially, I think it's different. Like I said, when it's salaries versus commission based, like I can motivate you to go make $1 million, like no, easy. But for me to motivate you to make, to do well and crush, but then also I'm the one managing your salary, and I'm like, okay, like I know I'm paying you $70,000 a year. You want to make more money? That's looking. It's a lot different dynamic.
Do you think you would ever go back to managing salaries, or do you think it's like a one and done?
I think I would go back. I'm thinking about doing a couple of different things. I don't enjoy it. I don't love it. I think I would hire it out immediately off the bat. Like I think my first hire and the only hire that I would worry about is like hiring a good VP, head of operations, someone that can actually worry about that, handle, manage the team, and kind of be a little bit more behind the scenes. I don't think I would be as core front management day to day, working with the calendar, working with everybody as much, just because it's just not my cup of tea.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. And now just some questions kind of reflecting on the entire journey. So first thing would be, I always had this like curiosity question for you, because you just,
Yeah.
it was kind of similar to like my situation in college, but even like more drastic, is that you just didn't have time. How was it balancing, social aspects, right? Like time with friends, significant others, etc., time with family, while
Yeah.
you're balancing two major things in school and work?
Yeah. To be honest, it wasn't fun. Like it was, I feel like I didn't have the full experience that everyone talks about. But at the same time, like I wouldn't take it back at all. I think it was worth it. I mean, for me, I think a lot of my roommates were like pretty dope. So like coming home, we were just like chilling, kicking it, watching TV. So I didn't feel like it was like, oh, like, I have to go hit this. But at the same time, like Friday night, Saturday nights, like we still had a good time. It's DC, we're downtown. So I it wasn't as bad. It wasn't as bad. I think it was a good mix. But definitely not the full like wow, like this, I had a great time type of experience, which I'm sure it was the same with you with soccer and everything in between.
Yep, you can. And sometimes when you have less days, you cherish them more. So
Correct.
I found value in not having as much time to enjoy it, because then when you are, it's really, really fun.
Yeah,
Um, Tell us a little bit about like your biggest success stories, biggest deals. I feel like that would be definitely an interesting one to hear.
for sure. Biggest deal. So my biggest deal when I first started out, again, like I'm 19 at this point. I remember getting a lead, a Zillow lead. So we work heavily with Zillow. So pretty much essentially the way it works is like we buy zip codes, and if anyone calls on a house in that zip code, it comes to us. And I remember Sammer like putting me on leads this one evening, and I get a lead for this condo at the wharf for 1.9 million. It was actually 2 million. And I'm like, oh shit, $2 million lead. I'm super excited. I take it. And the lead off the bat like just seemed super sketchy. It was like a random email, AZB at AOL, blah blah blah. And I answer it, and I remember this guy going, hello? I'm like, hey. He's like, is this a real estate agent? I'm like, yeah. I'm like, hey. He's like, I want to see the spot Wednesday, 11 a.m. If you can pick me up at this location, would be great. I'll see you there. Hangs up. No conversation. Super weird. I'm like, what the heck? Like, typically, most people wouldn't even go to these. Like, it's a little risky or whatever it is. But I was like, you know what? What's the worst case scenario? Let me just go. Put in the address. It's an address to an airport, but it wasn't like a regular Reagan Airport or Dulles, whatever. It was like a private jet strip. And I was like, what the heck? I was like, all right, this is a little interesting. End up pulling up, getting there. I have no idea what this guy looks like, what his full name is. Like, I no clue, right? So I show up. I'm just standing there, and I see there's only like one flight coming in within that time frame that he told me to get there. And I get there, I'm just kind of standing around, see this flight coming in, and this guy walks out, and he's just kind of like looking around. So I like just step up, I'm like, hey, were you here to see that? He's like, yeah, you're the real estate agent? I was like, yeah. Man's older guys, great, let's go. And like we just start walking towards my car. I'm trying to make convo. It was very dry. Put his stuff in my trunk. Taking him again. I would have gotten my car clean, and I didn't think it was like legit. So I was like, okay. We stopped for gas. He was like, I want to grab water, grabs a water. I'm trying to make convo, very like quiet, not really making conversation, like the bare minimum. We show up to this condo. I show it to him. He, like ask like the weirdest questions, like, hey, what's under this floor? Is there any type of cushions? This, that. I answer as much as I can. I told him I'll get back with him with some of the other questions. And when we get downstairs, there's a limo outside waiting for this guy. I'm just like, what the heck? And he goes, I don't remember what the driver's name was because, hey, grab my bag from his car, grabs my bag, gets in the car, rolls down the window. He goes, I'll get back with you. Disappears. I don't hear from him for like almost 2 weeks, month. I don't remember what it was. And just goes ghost. And randomly out of nowhere, like literally get a call and it's him. He's like, hey, I want the unit. Let's put in an offer. 1.8. Don't need anything. 10-day close, cash, no inspection, no nothing. And I was just like, okay. Can you send me proof of funds? Like I was like freaking out. I was like, can you send me proof of funds, full name, etc. He goes, yes, we'll get that over to you. Goes ghost for a couple days, finally get everything, send me proof of funds, and proof of funds has just like a crazy number. I think it was like something like 25 million plus. It was like a Fidelity account. I was like, what the heck? I don't remember what the number was, but it was ridiculous. Put in the offer, go back and forth. The agent's like, no, it was, the list was like 2 million. To try to argue back, I call him, like, hey, this is what they want. He's like, nope, this is what I want. Hangs up. Long story short, we get the deal done. Biggest deal of my life, 1.8 million. Was going crazy. And yeah, that was like the weirdest, craziest thing. We close on the property. I'm calling this guy, be like, hey, today's closing day. You're gonna be there. He goes, no, I need to do online closing. I'll have to call the title attorney, set up online closing same day. They were pissed off. Ended up making it happen. And I was like, where do you want me to meet you with the keys? Like, he's like, just keep it. I was like, what? He's like, yeah, just keep the keys. This guy doesn't show up for like 2 months. Out of nowhere, I get a text for 2 months. I was like, hey, where are the keys? I was like, oh, it's with me. He's like, can you drop it off front desk? Drop it off front desk. And I don't think the guy ever even moved in. I don't know where he is. I've been following up. I've been texting. I've been calling. No responses. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year. Nothing. So craziest, coolest, biggest deal at 19.
That's crazy. Wait,
Yeah.
how much is the payout for that, like commission wise?
So it's pretty much, I got 2.5% of that. So 1.8 million, 2.5%, about $45,000.
That's a big chunk at the age of
Yeah.
19. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's a crazy story. I'm curious if I'm actually like very invested now if he's actually moved in or not.
I know. I know. I need to go check in sometime.
But on that, do you have any opposite stories, like just like tough ones that like, or like a something that was just like hard to get over, or like maybe it was like an incident, anything really, but like pretty much the opposite of what you just told me.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I've had a couple of those. I think there's more of the lows than the highs, like the ones I just mentioned. I mean, some people, it's just like, I think overall, just like a gist of it is just like you get so invested with some clients and you're working and you think you guys are, best buddies and you feel like you're doing all you can to help them. And then out of nowhere, they'll just like literally ghost you. You'll see that they bought a house with someone else. Like just a lot of those moments where you're just like, where did the ball drop? What happened? So a ton of those. I mean, I had someone that was like a close family friend, like close family member, honestly, at this point. And I was helping them find a house. We were working together. Everything was well. And I see that they closed a house on Instagram, literally on Instagram, like a couple weeks later. And I was just like, what the heck? And yeah, so there's a lot of those like just random moments where you're like, okay, cool.
Yeah. And I guess you kind of already started getting into it, but what would you say have been like the best things about real estate, especially at a young age? And what do you think have been like the toughest and like learning lessons that you've gotten from it? And maybe like any lessons you would have to anyone looking to break into the industry, or any life lessons you really picked up too?
Yeah, for sure. I think the hardest part is like just like the mental game with yourself. Like in my head, I'm like, I remember walking to Sam's office and literally telling him this, and it's probably the best advice that he gave me. So hopefully people will get good, take off of it too. But I was just like, Sam, buy a house for me. I'm 19 years old. I'm young. I'm black. I have just the opposite of like what a top producing real estate agent looks like. And I remember him looking at me straight in the face. Sam was a straight shooter. He goes, Omar, like nobody cares about you. He's like, nobody cares what you look like. Nobody cares what you sound like. Nobody cares where you're from. Nobody cares what your hair looks like. He's like, as long as you're a professional in your industry, you actually care about your clients and you know what you're doing, you will be successful. And like, it took me a while to get over that and to actually believe that, but he was 100% right. I think it doesn't matter what you look like, what you sound like, where you're from. As long as you hustle, you care about your people, and you just do the work, like you will make it and you will be successful in whatever you decide. Um, and then on like, the side of just like the best part about being in real estate, and yes, real estate, but honestly, I like to say sales in general is just like, I think the sales is one of the greatest skills that you can have no matter what you do. I don't care if you're trying to start your own company, what life is sales, right? You're always selling something yourself to a partner, to a friend, to this, to that. So I feel like if you can learn how to sell, talk to people, build relationships, it's the greatest asset and the greatest skill that you can have. Like even for me, like going from selling real estate, selling houses, and having that skill to then starting my media company, like it was a joke for me just because I didn't know anything about cameras or media or anything like that. But selling $500 to $1 million houses to selling $1,500 to $3,000 retainers and packages was a joke. I just knew how to relate to people, make them feel good, understand what their pain points are, and sell them on a service or a product that I thought was going to help them. So I think just in general, if you can get into sales and learn the art of sales, one of the greatest things you could ever do for yourself.
Yeah, the power of persuasion, really. Yeah,
100%.
you can have it in many, if not every scenario. Final question for you here. What is your life, your ideal life, utopian life, whatever you want to call it? What does it look like in 1 to 2 years, so short term, medium term, like 5 years to 10 years, and then like when you're older, what does that look like?
For sure. So I get bored very easily. So this, I don't really don't know, to be honest, when it comes to like the 5 year mark, but I would say at least 1 to 2 years from now, I really want to scale my real estate team. I want to do at least a minimum of like 100 million a year, like more numbers. I want to scale a couple of the companies I'm working on. I'm working on a staffing company right now. I'm still helping grow the marketing agency. I still have a 20% stake in it, and really just grow my brand, my socials, and really help people get into the game. Like I've been helping a lot of people get into real estate, get into owning their own marketing agency. So really that's kind of like my businessy side, scaling the companies. 5 years from now, honestly, no clue. I do know overall I want to be in a place where if I don't have to, like if I don't want to, I don't have to. Like I want to be able to kind of like have a set stone of like, okay, I've already done this. I exited this. I'm in a safer, calmer space where I'm doing it because I enjoy it and it's fun, not because like I have to, sort of situation. But definitely still myself and seeing myself in real estate no matter what. I don't think I'll ever leave this industry. I absolutely love it. It doesn't feel like work. And maybe a family or two, and kind of, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate it, Omar. It was definitely great to hear. You had some good stories, and I always wanted to kind of have a conversation about this. So really appreciate it. And I hope the viewers enjoy this story, especially the GW people who probably saw you, definitely saw your Instagram post, TikTok videos, and probably were
Yeah,
interested to hear a little bit more, but maybe never had the conversation. So yeah,
I love
thank
it.
you for your time.
Thanks for having me. This is awesome. Good to see you again. And when I'm in New York, I know who to hit up.